Okay, so today I'm reading out sources related to Rameau's Nephew by Diderot, thanks to Dennis Young by Wilma Schoen, 1974 by Michael Snow. Now, this is only going to be this video, the visual of this upload, is going to be just this image you see here. Now, the only reason this is because, which is to say why I haven't just sped the film up as I had with Back and Forth, La Region Centrale. There are things which, even in sped up form, YouTube doesn't necessarily approve of. I don't think these are very bad things, not whatsoever. It's just YouTube doesn't like them. You know, it is what it is. And now I'm going to be reading out, initially, from angelsbarcelona.com, this little blurb here. This is written by Michael Snow. Oh no, sorry, the first paragraph is not. The second is a quote from Snow. Scripted and shot during a highly productive period in the early 1970s, Rameau's Nephew presents multiple attempts to make an authentic talking picture. The result resembles, by turns, a crazy comedy and a philosophical treatise as performers, including video artist Nam June Paik and critic and theorist Annette Michelson, struggle with their line readings as piano keys emit erotic moans and as the existence of physical objects are placed into doubt. This is Michael Snow's quote. I started scripting this film in February 1972 and writing, shooting, mixing, editing and continued till September 1974. Some ideas used in a date from 1966 when I recognized in myself the ambition to make an authentic talking picture, i.e. true to its description. It moves for its content from the facts of the simultaneities of recorded speech. It moves for its contents from the facts of the simultaneities of recorded speech and image. It is built from the true units of a talking picture, the syllable and the frame. All the possible image/sound relationships centering around people and speech generate the movie-audience relationships, a wide range of emotional possibilities, the experience of seeing/hearing this film, speech, language, culture, their source, their nature, recorded, imaged, prove, that there's a question mark in open and closed brackets there, that in this case, a word is worth 1,000 pictures. And now I'd like to read aloud. This is from John Wakeman. You apparently sourced from a text, World Film Directors, Volume 2, 1945 to 1985. Oh, the source I'm reading this from is lux.org.uk. Snow's longest work to date, the more than 4-hour Rameau's Nephew by Diderot, thanks to Dennis Young by Wilma Schoen, which he began after his return to Toronto in 1971 and completed in 1974, marks a significant departure in his cinema. Snow described the film as a talking picture, and this comment, coupled with his mention of the French encyclopedist, philosopher and author Diderot in the title, pointedly announced to audiences that the film would be encyclopedic and philosophical in the way that it inventoried and explored nature of sound. Unlike his three major works of the 60s and 70s, Rameau's Nephew is not unified by a single visual strategy that creates a dominant perceptual shape. Rather, it consists of some 25 sections, significantly different in length. Each segment is a meditation, often comic, about the nature of recorded sound, both abstract and representational, about the many possible kinds of audiovisual relationships, and about their philosophical implications. According to Regina Cornwell, Snow Scene 1980, that's the text it's from, I suppose, running through the film is a philosophical discussion about reality, appearance, illusion, representation, verisimilitude, which is undercut by humour in the form of sophisms, paralogisms, puns, repetition, variation, excess. A single brief but characteristic example from the sprawling work of its maze of internal cross-references will have to suffice. In the 8th sequence, we see Snow's hands drum on an empty kitchen sink that gradually fills with water and then is emptied again. The episode is, of course, based on a verbal joke about sync or synchronized sound, the most familiar way that sound is used in the film. This formulation of the idea in turn links up with a multitude of similar humorous experiments with synchronization in other sequences. And I'll read a couple of more quotes out. Then these are relatively brief. But we're going to, from... Actually, those aren't so useful. Those are just praising the film. This is better, though. This is, I believe, Martha Langford. This is writing this. Well, this is, yeah, www.aci.iac.ca/art-book/michael-snow/key-works. Okay. The authentic talking picture, as Michael Snow describes Rameau's nephew, is an epic treatment of the spoken word and other sounds generated by the human body, but are susceptible to recording. Okay, just as an aside, I really wish I could show you all of this. It's just... Well, the reason I can't is nudity. The film is a segmented series of encounters with figures in recognizable or at least nameable settings who are conversing, reciting, reading, discoursing, or otherwise generating sound. Some of these emissions are effortful, such as tapping, whistling, or smashing. Others seem simply to emanate from the body. The best example would be farting, while still others from the same corporeal region need to be staged in such a way that amplifies their qualities and enables them to be recorded. A pissing duet is amplified by the use of buckets. All manner of cinematic sound is under consideration, including voiceover and an off-screen voice-giving direction. The apparent source of the sound is pictured, a speaking figure, but this is no guarantee that the voice will be in sync. The film intends to counter such common assumptions. The language of this film is primarily English, though French, Spanish, and German are also spoken, and the spoken English can be broken down into its various dialects. Intense communication is leavened by miscommunication, whether from garbled speech, pedantry, weak signals, dubbing gaps, reversals, voiceover, or secret code. An incorrigible punster and talented writer, Snow has a fascination with and enjoyment of verbal play that long predates his preparations for Rameau's Nephew. It goes back to his childhood when his art production was the adventure cartoon. When he began to write this film, he scribbled down folksy expressions, advertising slogans, cliches, and snatches of conversation, which he translated into text and then reprocessed into scripts that are curious evidence of the oral/oral divide. He also created anagrams of the participants' names as well as his own, which becomes Wilma Schoen. Rameau's Nephew is episodic, situational, without plot or reprise. It is a long film, 4.5 hours, but is clearly divided into segments that take up various aspects of the theme. The players are mainly gifted amateurs, though Snow did engage professional actors for the so-called fart scene, which involved learning to perform their lines backward. Elsewhere, he featured already developed skills such as the ability of the Canadian painter Dennis Burton, 1933 to 2013, to speak Burtonish, a language based on English but different in its arbitrary fracturing of words and repurposing of punctuation, or his own capacity to make music at the kitchen sink. The work is sometimes described as polyphonic in its musical sense, for at this stage in his cinematic work, Snow was averse to any storytelling structure. His desire, frequently expressed, was to make image-sound compositions. Rameau's Nephew is generally analysed as a talking film, but its images, Snow settings, and framings are unforgettable for their colour, if nothing else. Holding this film together, leading the viewer from scene to scene, are the extraordinary breadth of its variations on the theme and its sometimes mute comedy.